Well, there's been a lot of speculation about the medication which Michael Jackson was alleged to have been taking and what will now happen, of course, to his 3 children.
Well, we're joined now by Alan Kaufman, who is an expert in family law, and David Pruce, who is director of the Royal Pharmaceutical Society. Welcome, gentlemen. Let's make it clear that neither of you knew Michael. You have no other interests in this, just to talk to us about as an expert level. So I'm going to start with you, David. As a pharmacist, you must have seen this list of drugs which are allegedly drugs that Michael was using and may have been in his system at the time. Perhaps you could talk us through them. Demerol, they say, this is all alleged, I have to keep saying that. Demerol injected twice a day. What is Demerol and what does it do?
Demerol is better known as pethidine. So it's a strong painkiller. It's related to morphine. So it will be used as a painkiller. It's unusual for it to be only used twice a day, but we don't know.
Any woman who's had a baby will probably have been given pethidine at some stage, so we know, I know from personal experience, sort of leaves you a bit floaty and dreamy, and although it doesn't kill the pain, it makes everything quite bearable, I would say. Vistaril was injected twice a day, allegedly.
Again, that's another morphine type drug. The list of drugs included a few morphine type drugs, some antidepressants, and some tranquilizers that are related to Valium.
Which one was that then? There's Diladid?
No, the Xanax is one that's related to Valium and would have similar effects.
Zoloft?
Yes, Zoloft is an antidepressant used in this country, known by different names in this country.
Ritalin?
Ritalin is unusual. That's a stimulant. It's often used in ADHD in children, and it's similar to an amphetamine or speed.
Prozac, antidepressant.
Antidepressant, yes.
And Prilosec.
That's a drug that's used in the stomach, usually for heartburn or something like that.
Oh, so indigestion type.
Indigestion, yes.
So this is a mixture then of things that are morphine related, which makes you very sleepy and relaxed, antidepressants, anti-anxiety perhaps, and Ritalin to get you up again. So it's a mixture of up and downers.
It is. It's a real cocktail, and it's not one that I would expect to see used in treating a normal person, really.
We don't know, as we've said, and must continue to say, and having spoken to Mark Lester, a close friend, who said, well, this is not a man I recognise at all, taking these sort of things, a guy that wouldn't take an aspirin. But of course, Mark wouldn't have been there, all of the time, and although he hasn't seen it, it's perfectly possible. But what would that do to a person if they were to take that list?
If they were to take it in the long term, there's 2 risks. One is that they could become addicted, particularly to the morphine type drugs and the Valium type drugs. But you're likely to be drowsy. The real danger is if it's given in too high a dose, particularly the morphine type drugs. That tends to suppress breathing, and if it's given in too high a dose, it will actually stop someone breathing. That in turn can bring on a heart attack.
So that's where these allegations perhaps that he was, again, nobody knows, but there's these speculative reports to say that he was perhaps given a higher dosage of a painkiller which brought on cardiac arrest.
It's entirely possible. It depends on how much he was given and how much of the narcotics he had in his body at the time.
Is the regulation and the use of these drugs different in America than it is here?
It is slightly different, but certainly the morphine type drugs would be what's known as controlled drugs. So all of those would only be available on prescription, as here. So
let me ask it in a different way then in that case. Is that a responsible prescription to give to someone? We're not saying for a moment that it was prescribed for Michael Jackson, because we don't know. But if you saw that list prescribed by a doctor, what would you say?
My automatic reaction would be to phone the doctor and say, do you really mean to prescribe this? yes, you could see that sort of combination, but I would expect someone to be closely controlled. I would expect the doses to be very closely controlled. I would automatically pick up the phone and ask the doctor if he really meant to do that.
Interesting. Well, sitting next to you is Alan Kaufman, family.
Thank you both very much indeed for coming in today. Thank you. And we'll be back after the news. Don't go away.